Let's begin.
Hey there, scary story fanatics! Welcome back to Cleaving Thought from Bone with your host, Sociopathic. Ever have something really creepy happen to you? Something you can't fully explain? Well, if you're here, then you lived to tell about it. Now, let me tell you a tale of someone not as fortunate. Settle in by your monitors for a truly terrifying tale that you won't be able to unhear. Icy You.
So, basically, I'm done with the internet. Okay, so maybe not completely, but I certainly won't be using it when isolated, and only when it's deemed relatively necessary. But I'm definitely done with Facebook. I'm writing this now to post later, and I'm washing my hands of the World Wide Web for all intents and purposes. I don't know if any of you have experienced anything similar to what I'm going to deliberate shortly, or if my experience is isolated, but I seriously warn all of you that some really crazy things happen on the internet, and these things are not restricted to only the deep web either. If someone else wants to claim credit for this, regarding it as only some spooky story some anonymous person posted, and take it for their own, I don't mind. I won't be checking up on this post or reading comments, so how the hell am I going to know anyway? I really don't care if anyone believes me. I'm merely writing this down and submitting it, so that I know my conscience can be clear, that I did my part in at least attempting to provide some kind of warning. So, anyway, here's my story. I work long days and live relatively lonely nights, aside from those I interact with on the internet. But as I've explained, that's not really a thing anymore. But it was my norm. Wake up before the sun rises, go to work, enduring the mundane routine of stocking shelves and cleaning floors at the local grocery store, scoop up as many hours as I can, sometimes over 60 hours a week, because they really don't pay much. Go home, shower, nuke dinner, and surf the internet until bed, only to do it all over again, day in and day out. Last Tuesday was no exception to this daily rut. There rarely was, aside from Terry, my best friend, calling me on the phone so as to entice me into joining him at the local bar. He rarely had his own money, and I don't get paid until Fridays, so a weekly excursion was a rarity to say the least. But it did happen. Respectively, work proceeded as normal. There were screaming kids stuffed into those little metal shopping cart sets, little old ladies asking for help reaching things located on the uppermost shelves, and a plethora of ignorant individuals asking for help in locating such items as coffee or sugar, clearly too lazy to look up or unable to read, as most of these items are spelled out in black and white on large signs hanging above the center of each aisle. I did say that things went normal. And for those of you who have ever spent a single day employed by a grocery establishment, you'll know that this is precisely how it goes. I managed to gather an extra 2 hours that day because Reggie couldn't make it on time for his shift. He was frequently late, and I don't think he ever had a decent excuse. But what was his loss was my gain, and meant more dollars in my pocket. But after such a day, I of course left exhausted. My cell phone in my pocket, keys in hand, and jacket on, I made for my car first, and my little apartment second. I live alone, so I basically just come home, toss my stuff on the floor at the front door, and go from there. There's no one to yell at me for my slobbish behavior, and a few scattered articles of clothing on the floor is honestly no bother to me. I don't let things get out of hand like those hoarders you see on TV, but I am accustomed to a little bit of mess. About the only formality of returning home that I tend to is plugging in my cell phone to the tower computer via USB cable, charging it, and ensuring its readiness for the following day. By the time I had arrived that day, I just wanted to sit, having been on my feet for an extended period of time. I had showered and microwaved a moderately flavored Chipotle chicken Hungry Man dinner without too much obstruction, and was seated at my computer within a half an hour, my dinner still steaming at my desk. I used my fork to both cut a piece of cheap breaded meat and dunk it into some pretty spicy sauce before using it to also take a bite while I opened up Firefox. The first thing I check every day is Facebook. There's just something about seeing those notifications and message alerts that excites me. Being alone, I guess you could say it was sort of a highlight of my evenings after work. I chewed the meat in my mouth, savoring the flavor and swallowing it down, and that's when the burning began. The sauce in this meal was a little much, and I instantly craved a Mountain Dew, in which to both quench my thirst and squelch the fire in my mouth. I stood with haste and made way for the kitchen, and the soda that would likely offer little release from the heat and pain, and did so with such fervency that I tripped on one of the cords beneath my desk, intertwined with the others like snakes in a den. I saw my desk lamp flicker alongside my computer monitor, but only briefly, so I wasted no more time in retrieving my drink. When I brought the can back to my desk and sat in the swivel chair that I had pulled from the side of the road, I noticed I had one new Facebook friend request. I clicked the pending request icon to find the name Icy You, alongside a small picture icon that seemed to contain a young, yellow-haired girl. I moved the pointer over the name to get a bigger version of the profile pic, convinced it was one of my friends playing a joke, or just one of those random friend requests from someone I didn't know. We all get those. But the handle, Icy You, was an obvious attempt at textual ambiguity, and I figured a more identifiable picture may help to lead me to who this person really was. The picture was of a young woman in her late teens or early 20s. She had long blonde hair, large blue eyes, and small red lips that seemed to almost purse as she smiled within the frame. She was cute, I'll give you that, but beyond that, there wasn't really anything out of the ordinary there to warn me as to what I was getting myself into exactly. So, curious and a little bored, I clicked accept.
Thanks for the ad.
I got a message almost as soon as I clicked accept. You're welcome, I replied.
I like your profile pic.
She said. My profile picture is nothing special. It's just a photograph of my face. My living room is my backdrop. I smiled, a little flattered, and replied, Thanks, I like yours too.
Do you want to see a video?
This text caught me off guard, as it completely deviated from the normal, "Hi, nice to meet you" conversation. Still, this wasn't the first time someone had sent me some random video of someone's cat or a weird news phenomena, so I responded, "Sure." A link appeared in the message box. Unassumingly, I clicked on it without hesitation. Firefox opened a new tab, which loaded up YouTube. The first thing I checked and found odd was the name of the YouTube channel. There was none. How's that possible? I asked myself. At first, I thought it could just be like a YouTube-like mirror site, meant only to look like YouTube, but operating differently. I scanned the address at the top of the browser. www.youtube.com. It was certainly YouTube. The rest of the link was only a collection of seemingly insignificant random letters and numbers, not even showing the username or the typical watch ? Equals. The video stopped buffering and began, and once it did, all thoughts left the obscurity of the site address and holistically landed upon the content of my screen. The setting was an old basement or room in an abandoned factory, or something like that, because the walls were all stone, gray, chipped, worn, and had no windows at all. There were what appeared to be long wooden shelves that lined the length of each wall, all of them deep and built 3 or 4 shelves high, like those shelf-like bins at Home Depot or Lowe's Hardware. The floor was either uncarpeted or terribly filthy, and at the top of the screen, barely within frame, hung a long, rectangular, fluorescent light that flickered as much as it glowed, adding to this dreadful ambience. And even all of that wouldn't be taken in and fully processed until later, because it was what was in the center of the screen that captured my full attention like a kidnapped victim and refused to release me. There was a girl, thin and slender, laying on what looked like to be an oval wooden table. She was close enough to the overhanging light that I could see her there, but far enough away so that I couldn't make out any discernible features. I could only tell that it was thick, braided rope that bound her in place, that she was struggling to get free, and that she was completely naked. A naked girl is one thing, but this didn't look like porn. And if I was about to be shown what I thought I was, I didn't want to watch it. I then saw a man enter from the right of the frame, his head kept from view. There was audio to the video, I just didn't know it. I had the volume turned up to a reasonable level, but up to this point, I heard nothing. But as this large, portly man, wearing a stained and torn white shirt that appeared to be a few sizes too small, approached her, I could hear her screaming. It was faint, only a whisper through my speakers, but it was there. I was moving my mouse to the corner of the tab to exit out before things got worse, but I was too late. I watched the man take a large knife from his other hand that had been kept from view, raised it above the girl's head, and slammed it down into her face, over and over again, violently, well after she stopped screaming. The last sounds I heard were the visceral cracks of skull breaking under the hilt of a knife. The tab closed out. I sat for a moment, trying to collect my thoughts and reel them back for cognitive interpretation, struggling with the images that I had just seen.
What do you think?
OMG, what the hell? Was the only thing I could think to punch into the keyboard.
It's art mimicking life.
I was perplexed. What? Icy You is calling. I really didn't want to face chat with this girl, especially after seeing that horrible video. I moved to click decline, but when I pressed it, the accept button highlighted blue for a moment before the window closed out, as if I had clicked accept instead. Before I had time to react, the video feed opened in a new window. I didn't realize it, but I had been holding my breath, something I noticed only after I had released it, once seeing the normal backdrop of a young girl's bedroom and the smiling, pretty face on the screen in front of me. I was so sure I was to be presented with something ghoulish that I honestly contemplated hiding under my desk for a brief instant, and once I saw the normative display before my eyes, I relaxed and even felt a bit silly. Maybe someone sent her the link and she didn't know what it was either? I reasoned with myself internally. Hi. Nice to put a live face to that weird name of yours, I said, a little unsure of what I should say exactly. I really never have been good at voice calling. I waited a moment for her response, but it never came. Hey, can you hear me all right? I said, checking to see if everything was working properly. No response. I heard the notification sound for Facebook again, and once I looked, overlapping my browser on top of my face call, I had noticed that she had sent me a new message via text. Maybe her speakers don't work? I thought to myself. I didn't like it, I said, appalled by just the memory of the video.
Sorry to hear that.
Icy You responded. I don't know why, but in that moment I moved my cursor to the taskbar and clicked on the video chat window. Needless to say, I was shocked into breathlessness once again when I gazed upon the frame. The same blonde-haired girl was still there, leaned in real close to her camera and just smiling. For a second, I wondered whether or not I was looking at a still image, because she didn't move, didn't blink. But it couldn't have been just an image, because ever so slightly, like you really have to stare for a while just to even notice. Her smile began to grow bigger and bigger, all the while staring right at me with her unblinking eyes. The video quality seemed to have diminished as well. Pixels seemed larger, and the screen was notably marred with poorer resolution in areas. It was hard to tell due to the decreased video quality, but I could have sworn the room where she was stationed had changed. It no longer looked like a typical girl's bedroom. Things instead seemed much darker, dirtier, and gray-scaled. Another notification sound effect jarred me from my focus on the screen, and I quickly, with trembling fingers, clicked my way back to Facebook.
What's wrong?
I said nothing, half hoping she'd just go away, and half because I couldn't form a well-plotted response.
Don't you like me anymore?
It was clear to me now that Icy You simply had a sick sense of humor and some obviously questionable hobbies. I wanted this to end right that instant, so I clicked on the red X in the corner to close out the window. My computer asked if I wanted to close all tabs, and I unhesitatingly clicked yes. The window closed. But somehow, the face call did not. The window governed by the same program that I had just closed should have closed with it, but instead, the browser disappeared, leaving me with a sudden display of such terror and macabre stimuli that I can never recapture what I beheld with words, no matter how hard I try, nor would I if I could. No human being should ever witness such things, but amongst them all, that horrid and grotesque background and flashes of images and clips within that window. Her face is still the one single image I have trouble erasing from my mind. Her eyes were dark, hollow, but not like a phantom's or monster's, more like they'd been crudely gouged out. Her nose was split in half. The skin on her face was riddled with lacerations, large and small, each leaking the same thick, oozing liquid that drained from those ocular sockets. And her smile, her monstrous and menacing smile that was stretched wider than ever, far past that which should be possible by any human being. A large, impossible smile, lined with sharp, serrated teeth that seemed to be more the product of intentional filing, some chipped and most disuniformed from the rest, and the lot of them were a brilliant white from what I could tell, covered in swirls of a thick, dark red or black, like she had just swallowed a mouthful of ink and was grinning her frightening maw in pride of doing so. Icy You then looked down at something out of frame. Golden hair stained red hung vacillating over her face, and the right arm worked feverishly at something. I reached out to turn off the monitor, planning to shut down the tower by hand next. But the display remained, unyielding to my demands. Then I bent downwards towards the floor, dipping my head below the desk and out of sight of the monitor, holding down the power button. But as I did, I saw something else. Icy You was slowly lifting a piece of paper up to the camera, and I froze. I knew that on it would be written some kind of message. I just had to know what that message was. I wish I didn't. One word was all it took for me to gasp, knocking my cell phone to the floor beside me. It made a loud clack upon impact, and then the call window on the screen just closed. I sat for a moment, sweating, staring off into my own thoughts, too scared to move or even look around my own apartment. So, it will come as no surprise that when my cell phone rang, I nearly jumped out of my skin in fright. I looked down to the floor to spy the caller ID. Terry calling. Shaking, I reached out, picked it up, answered it, and placed it to my ear. "Hello?" I asked, nervously into my phone.
Dude, I've been trying to call you. You want to hang out tonight? A buddy at work wants some tickets to the hockey game.
I wasn't sure how to respond. My mind was still kind of in a haze. "Yeah, sorry I had my cell turned down," I said, my voice still shaking.
Are you okay, man? You don't sound right.
Terry said, noticing my nervous tone. "Yeah," I said, trying to shake it off for the moment until I had some time to process. "Yeah, I'm fine. Say, why didn't you just try calling the house phone?" I asked him. Terry knew I usually had my cell off when I was at home.
I tried, man. It said the line was disconnected.
I first picked up the house phone to inspect it, quickly finding that there was no dial tone. Next, I checked the lights on the modem beneath the desk that controls both the internet and my phone. My heart sank deep into the depths of my throat, and the world seemed to go fuzzy with adrenaline and fear. The reason the line was not working, why that fucking conversation, that fucked up face call could have never taken place, was because when I stood in my haste to go grab my can of soda, when I tripped on the cords at my feet beneath my desk, I had pulled the power plug for the modem from the wall. I had no phone, because I had no internet. I dropped the cell to my feet. Terry was calling out from within it for my attention, but I did not hear him. My mind echoed with that single 4-letter word written on the paper, gripped in the claw of that monster, adorning that hideous smile. Soon.
Well, if you never visit Facebook again, it'll still be too soon. And just for avoiding the Zuck altogether, it's completely worth it. Hell, he's more evil than a creepy stretch-mouth smoke demon with a social media account any day. But if you want more terror, I've got just what you've been craving, as next Saturday will be knee-deep in the 13 days of Halloween and gore. And until then, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can catch you all again next Saturday.
Social media can be very unpredictable, especially regarding horror content. If this content gets removed, all new content will be simultaneously presented on various websites provided in the description to this video. Make sure to follow me in other digital spaces so that you never miss out on the terror. Also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. It helps the channel a lot. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what's here, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Writing is a dream of mine, and it's all of you that make that dream come true.